What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. We are live. Ray is in action. Let's do it, dude. Morning, brother.
Yeah, man. Good morning. Good morning, Kings.
Morning,
just
all.
Driving from New York City back to Toronto. There was an art gallery opening in New York, so I drove yesterday to NYC to go to this event, to network, to nourish relationships, to keep things close. You know, emails and Zooms are one thing, but when you can do the face-to-face and voice-to-voice, you know, it's so much more powerful, right?
Well, so I think it depends. I think there's essentially an intersection where volume will exceed personal touch, and I have two different mentors who see this two different ways. One mentor is hardcore, like I'll drive and I'll go and I don't care wherever the hell you are. I'll go to your kid's birthday party. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will say that he is less successful than another mentor that I have who just takes a volume approach.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think I think you may have mentioned this kind of thing before. The mentor who is willing to drive and stuff, is he the one who is willing to like find you a refrigerator repairman if you're one of his clients? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So in my case, these were important relationships that I wanted to honor face to face.
Oh yeah.
And so I wasn't trying to drum up new business and handing out business cards.
Yep.
These were just like long-standing relationships, people I hadn't seen since COVID began, because they live in Europe or because they live in the States.
Yep.
So it was important for me to do the face-to-face in my defense.
No, yeah. Oh, by the way, they both work. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on what model you want. I would say, and I don't have any mentors that do this. Actually, it's not true. There's one that does this, and he is one of the most successful, which is he does both, but he makes the people come to him.
Mhm.
So, and he does that by large events. So, for instance, like you could think of, and I don't know this guy personally, but Tony Robbins is a perfect example, where you go to him, or if he ever goes to you, he's going to you via a stage. So he'll go and speak on a stage of 3,000 people, at a real estate annex or something like that. But he's not going to anybody's house, at least under my understanding. But I do think there's an evolution. I think in the beginning of your career, I think it makes a lot of sense to go and do the concierge type of service, where you make house calls, all that stuff. But I do think eventually volume will exceed personal touch. You can still do personal touch, but in a micro way, not in a very deep way.
Yeah, and that's something I'm trying to do the hybrid model now that I've brought on a personal assistant. One of the people I met in New York is a very successful businesswoman, and she gave me a tip of, like, after I have a dinner or a meeting with someone new or interesting or a potential client, make a voice memo as soon as possible after the event to either to myself or more effectively to my personal assistant saying, met Jane Smith at dinner. She's interested in this product or service that I offer. Follow up with an email. And I look forward to the point where I'm so automated that voice memo can be sent directly into an email or text to my personal assistant, who will then cut and paste the appropriate correspondence. But
yeah. Well, you use an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the quickest way that I have found, and I know this sounds like we're super into the tactics, but this is actually very helpful. It saves a lot of time. So you can just say, hey, Siri, send text message to personal assistant saying, met Cindy in the red dress. She's a great contact for X, Y, and Z. Sends it right away, and then boom, you're done. Like you literally don't have to even turn on your phone.
Yeah.
Or you don't have to
Now,
unlock your phone.
But I'd like to talk about the subject of relationships because like my visit to New York was because a very, very famous artist who I want to have a deeper relationship with had an opening reception in New York at a very famous gallery. So rather than just send an email saying, hey, I'm a friend of this artist, I'd love to learn more about what he's selling there. I wanted to go there in person and really forge that relationship so that future, with sense of humor, with authenticity, and with a good first impression, so that any future phone call, text, or email has that secure foundation, right? And so we were talking earlier about the topic of relationships. And so in the case of this trip to New York, I was trying to create relationships. Do you want to riff on creating relationships or
hell yeah,
diplomatically ending them?
Yeah. So I think one of the guys right now, I won't say his name because he's not on live, but anybody who's on the Discord probably saw that one of the guys right now is dealing with the breakup. So we could probably talk about the evolution. And actually, funny enough, I just did an interview with a psychologist who has her doctorate degree, and we went through the topic of relationships. We did not do breakups, but the camera got fucked up because I'm not sure how to use cameras yet. Like DSLR cameras turn off just randomly. So you got to restart it. So I got to do some editing, but I think the guys will get a ton of value out of that interview. I think it was like an hour and a half, if not 2 hours. And we riffed on a lot of this stuff. But okay, so the first things, I think when it comes to relationships, I love business because it forces you, if you want to grow the business beyond a certain scale, it forces you to start to formulate like actual variables that move the needle in a certain domain. Like, and relationships is a perfect example. So I can tell you, for instance, with our clientele, we have what's called a love quotient. So it's like when we pull up a cohort of clients, how much do they love us on a scale of 0 to 10? Obviously, it's subjective, but you can put objective metrics in there. And then you can say, okay, well, like how do you trigger some of those things? So for instance, I can tell you that when you, oh, sorry, I can't hear you. What'd you say, buddy?
Do you mean like how can you improve the love quotient score?
Yeah, exactly. Now, so the first thing is, do not be dismissive, because a lot of people think as soon as you start talking about emotions in a calculated way, they're like, oh, you're taking the magic out of it. It's like, actually, I disagree. Well, first of all, I take the magic out of everything, but I also disagree. Like, I would imagine that if you have a husband who goes about in a scorecard type of way saying, I need to do these things for my wife every day. I need to tell her that I love her. I need to leave her a little gift, whatever the fuck it is. I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, he beats the other husband who has no plan. So one has a formula, one doesn't. I guarantee you the guy who has a formula, he wins the game over the long run. Okay, so with that being said, for instance, with clients, I can tell you there have been 0 times that I have sent client cookies, and we send some really good cookies, 0 times where they come back and saying, I really wish you didn't send me those cookies. Right? In fact, every time they get back to us saying like, oh my gosh, those are the best cookies I've ever had. Like, thank you so much. It's crazy how much cookies move the needle emotionally. And then also, like, so that's one of the things on our scorecard that we have for our love quotient for our clients. Another thing is like literally just give a care call every once in a while out of the blue moon. Because I forget what book I read this thing, but it was like unpredictable variable inputs. So it's like if I call you and say, like, not on your birthday, which, by the way, on your birthday, that works really well too. But if I just call you randomly and say, hey, Ray, just call and see how you're doing, bud, just thinking about you. Right? Like, automatically, it's like, oh, Wes is thinking about me. Like, it does not hurt the relationship. I would actually
do that to business clients.
Yep. Yeah.
So, okay, walk me through that. It feels like it's supposed to feel like a spontaneous, hey, I'm just checking in with you, but it sounds like it's scheduled.
Yep. Exactly. So now, for instance, right, like, and I don't mean to say this to sound like manipulative, but I'm just saying it purely uh, as a business owner, like if you want to move the needle. So for instance, for a given client, we backed in and said, okay, what would a level 10 experience look like for the client emotionally? So we answered that question. How can we get them to love us? Like, what is our best guess? And then some of the staff, of course, was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think you can put, it's like, all right, thank you for sharing. It's like, if you had to guess, right, how could you do that? Because there are actual things, right? So then we say, okay, contact once a month. So, okay, so what does contact mean? That means we could send them reports and so on, but we have to sprinkle a few things in there that are like direct, like hardcore, like really good touches. So for instance, I will show you actually right now. So one of those things is a care call, right? A care call just saying, hey, Ray, how you doing? I was just thinking about you. See it, how you doing? Right? So then once we have that conversation, it's usually like a 5 to 10 minute chat. Like you say, oh, I'm on my way to New York. Okay, cool. So good from hearing from you. Blah, blah, blah. Have some New York pizza for me. Blah, blah, blah. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not business related. Another thing we'll do is like a lot of businesses will send out birthday cards, which are good. Like actually, funny thing is like you beat out 99% of businesses because 99% of businesses don't send you birthday cards. Like Ray, for instance, what's the last company?
I'm kind of cringing, like thinking about it, but I have to break through. Like I think that person in your organization brought up the cringe factor, right? But you asked them to just break through that cringe factor.
Yep, exactly. Now, there's definitely it's the art of it. How do you do it? So, for instance, here's what I do not like. I can't stand. Well, I shouldn't say that. If I receive a birthday card from my dentist, and it's a generic, like it's obviously just like they printed it out, like it's the same birthday card they sent to every client.
Dear sir or madam, happy birthday.
I don't think that hurts it. Like for instance, how many businesses did you receive a birthday card from on your birthday?
A handful.
Oh, really? So I think one, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. No. I mean, it's not. Yeah. What I mean is, it's like, it's not an overwhelming majority. It's not. Yeah. It's not customary, I guess.
Yeah. So, like, I don't get. I think I got a birthday card. I think that the one I'm referring to, I think, is a dentist. So, like, I got it. I didn't say, "Fucking dentist! I can't believe he sent me this birthday card." I did receive. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of nice. It's generic, but it's kind of nice, right?" It didn't give them 10 points, right? But it didn't
it's like, oh, they're doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right?
But for other businesses, right? Like you work with a lot of businesses, you only received a handful, right?
Yeah.
Now, so what I do think, I don't think this is brilliant. I don't think it moves the needle a million times, but I think like you ever see those papyrus cards that are like super heavy duty, like really artistic cards?
Yeah. Or Cranes and Co. is the kind of gold standard.
Oh, I'll have to. I'm definitely gonna write that down.
Yeah, Cranes, CRANES. They're the people who make the money for the U.S. mints, and so it's like, it's like kind of American Psycho kind of talk, right? Where it's like really heavy.
Hell yeah.
Cotton. What do they call it? Like cotton count or whatever.
Cranes and Co. cards. I'm looking it up right now. Okay, perfect. So for instance, I'll tell you a story. So I sent one of those cards. Now what I do is I then tie it with twine. So it's like a high-end card, a handwritten note, right? And I print out a quote. In there, if it's a man, I'll usually send like the man in the arena quote. If I legitimately believe it, like I would send it to you, for example. It's like you start your business, like you're the man in the arena. I take out that quote, put it in there, and then say like, thought of you when I saw this, blah, blah, blah. Then I put it in and I put twine on it, and I put one of those, I drip the
what is wax.
It? Yeah, the wax, and then with a fucking stamp on there, and then I put it in.
Kidding.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then I put it inside
and the horse like delivers it.
Yeah. So and the stamp says either happy birthday or thank you or something like that. Dude, I could tell you every single time I send that card, somebody calls. Like I sent it to a man recently. He said he literally had tears in his eyes. Right, like, right. But so that's an example of like that's one touch where you. Oh, sorry. What'd you say? Can't
that
hear.
might be better.
You just cut out. Yeah. What was that?
Like if a hawk delivers it and like drops
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's an example. That's one touch. Sending cookies, which I have my assistant do, and she sends like really boutique cookies. That's the second thing. And I always ask clients like, hey, what's your favorite dessert? What's your favorite blah, blah. And I ask them casually so they don't think I'm recording it. Right. And then I record it and then boom. Though you do that a handful of times, you do that 2 times throughout the year, you're crushing any business that you're competing with. Those are just 2 examples. And then you add on top of it like clear, consistent, authentic, and vulnerable communication, which you could apply to any relationship.
Yeah.
Like you are
what
head
you're
and
talking about, it applies to all relationships, really.
Yep.
You're just using the narrow example of business.
Exactly.
So what were those 3 words? Clear.
Yep. Clear, consistent, authentic, and vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. That's like that's the cheat code.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah. So now how do you tie it all together? Well, it's the same thing we do here. You have a scorecard.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's break it down. Like, or unless that's what you're about to do. Like can you define clear, consistent?
Oh, yeah.
us?
Yeah, exactly. Clear is like when you're in a bit, I would argue as men, probably the majority of our relationships, we have to be leaders in. So it's like there is, I can't tell you how many times a week, if not a day, where I get opinions from people with no decision. And I can tell you for me, it instantly disqualifies them. It's like, okay, great. Thank you for sharing. You're not volunteering to lead, right? Like anybody can bring to the table. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anybody can bring problems to the table. Congratulations, right? There's a million problems a day that we go through. Like, and you're like, also chances are I or the leadership has already heard of that problem or knows of that problem for years, right? Like, or for at least months. It's like, okay. So
Captain Obvious. Thank you.
Exactly. Right. And I don't mean to sound dismissive, but it's like to come into my office and to talk about it for 30 minutes and then literally I will even test it to say, okay, great. What's your recommended path moving forward? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I just wanted to say, it's like, okay, awesome. But that like, you cannot be a leader if you don't have a solution, at least a suggestion to a recommended path forward. Right. So at least in my opinion. So clear is like clearly defined problem and spend 5% of the time on it, 95% of the time on the solution, right? Yeah. And I don't even fucking care if I'm right or you're right. Doesn't matter. You have the balls to actually put a solution on the table. And then even more bonus, it's like you do this, I'll do this. So that's clear. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Consistent is just exactly what it sounds like. Like make sure you're communicating with clients or your relationships on a consistent basis. There's obviously over communicating. However, I do think that's not the problem, right? For most people, right? Absolutely. Very few businesses or very few husbands are over communicating to their partnerships. Right. So consistent. The way to tie that together. Well, actually, I'll get to that next. So clear, consistent, authentic. So authentic is like, I cannot stand business relationships and any type of relationships where it's inauthentic, where if I sense at all that you're not telling me the full version of the truth, or you're asking me what I call secondary questions, where it's like, you really don't want to know the answer to this question for that question. You're asking me for the purposes of like testing me. And I hate that. A common example in an intimate relationship would be something like, so what'd you do tonight? And it's like, do you really want to know what I did tonight? Or do you just want to know if I was out with another girl? Right? Like, like that's really what you're asking. Dude, that drives me fucking crazy.
Right. Because that erodes trust, I think. Am I right?
Yeah. It's just like, or we should have the amount of rapport where you can just ask me directly.
Yeah.
And then this leads into the final part, which is vulnerability. So to like piggyback off of that last question, if I were to ask like my intimate partner, like, do I have enough confidence to say, hey, I know this is going to sound weird, but like, here's what came up for me. When you went out tonight, I know this is crazy. It kind of felt like maybe you were out with another guy, right? Like, can we talk through that? Right? Like that's that's communicating in a non-offensive, vulnerable, and very clear way and authentic way, as opposed to saying like what'd you do? And like you can tell through my tone that I don't really give a shit what you did. I just want to make sure you're not violating my trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the way to sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just thinking like I want you to finish your thought first.
So the way to wrap this all together, especially as a business person, and you can even do this with like your friendships, etc., is have a last touch report. So there's two metrics you have to look at. How much does a person love me? Right. And obviously don't be unhealthy about it. I'm just saying like purely for benefit. Like what's the love quotient? How much does my spouse love me on a scale of 0 to 10 right now? How much do my clients love me on a scale of 0 to 10 right now? Okay. Do that metric. Then what we call the last touch report, which is have the staff run a list of clients by their level. So like, AA client, AAA client, blah, blah, blah. And when was the last time I touched them? This sounds so obvious, but dude, I bet I've done some consulting in the last year for a handful of companies. It's so funny how often I ask them. It's like, hey, do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? And they say, oh yeah, we do that. I say, okay, great, show me. And it's the same thing when I ask a man, do you set goals? Yeah, okay, great, okay, cool. Do you write them down? Oh yeah, great, show me. Right, and it's like almost zero. Like literally only one person in the last year could say, oh yeah, here are my goals. Here's my list of goals. Oh, they're in my car. Let me go grab them for you. So there's a massive difference between even conceptually thinking about it and then actually doing it. So how much do the people love you, and when's the last time you touched them? And then I would recommend, especially for a business owner, do not let it go past 30 days. Right, like ever, some sort of touch. And then the final thing I forgot I was going to show you guys is this right here. This is an actual client. This is the most recent, like one of a relatively recent one that I thought of. In addition to sending a birthday card, I also send a video that just says, "Hey man, was thinking of you. I was trying to say happy birthday." Like, dude, this little video in text message form, that I would say that does dramatically better than any birthday card, because I mean, Ray, how many videos did you get on your birthday this year?
0. Like, I've only sent one, and that was when you challenged me to send it.
Yeah.
To a client, and it was terrifying. I was in a shopping mall in Florida, I think, and it's like, oh my God, is it too echoey? What if her husband sees this? But it was.
So Ray, I think, is out of commission. Seems like he's on his way to New York, and his service is shitty. Anyway, I hope you guys can get something out of that. And please believe me, I am not perfect of this by any means. That's why I literally have to have 2 staff members help support me literally in these projects, because otherwise I will not get it done. Like I will goof up on a weekly basis and not follow through. Probably the biggest thing that I would say, honestly, for the love quotient is the videos via text. I don't do them anywhere near enough, but I can tell you, dudes, like it is absolutely phenomenal. And I will do it just randomly to a buddy saying, hey John, was thinking of you. I thought you would like this meme that I saw. So I'll literally take a picture, or I will take the video of it and send it. So just little things like that. And then Kaizen says, I'm sending client cookies right now. It's such a genius idea. From a lady, I meant a lot. Birthday thing. Yeah, exactly, dude. I'm telling you. So like birthdays, because those are different than holidays. And it's like as obvious as this sounds. But I can tell you, man, if you can connect with somebody on their birthday, because in your head, like that is your day, right? It's your birthday, it's your day. So if somebody can go, dude, those videos literally take me 30 seconds. Those videos take me less time than getting a birthday card, handwriting it, printing it out, mailing it, all that stuff, printing out the quote, blah, blah, blah. So the wild thing is that the videos, at least for right now, are massively above. The perception of value is massively above anything else that I have done, only because basically nobody does it. And you can do it. The cool thing about video is that you can do it. It's kind of already natively baked into the iPhone apps, I assume with Android as well. And you can also send it cross cross company. So an iPhone can create a video and send it to an Android user. This is different than, it's a little harder to do an audio text message from an iPhone user to an Android user. You can still do it, but you got to do it a little bit more of a roundabout way. So anyway, dudes, I think the biggest takeaway from this is if you're trying to nurture relationships, whether it be intimate or partnerships in business or friendships, literally, if you had to create a scorecard to do that for the year, to go through a complete cycle, how would you do that? You would reach out to somebody on their birthday, you reach out to them once a month or whatever the cadence or frequency is for you, and then you would execute on those. Ray, you back, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So just kind of recap some of the stuff. And the videos, man, I'm telling you, like, the videos work unbelievably well. You just have to get over, like, you're not going to look like Ryan Gosling in it. But that's the thing, right? That's why most people won't do it.
So
That's
question, Wes.
Yep.
Who first recommended that you try this format, and how did you feel when you first did it?
Nobody recommended it. I literally just used I was like, oh, like, I can send a video. It's like, oh shit. And then it's like, holy hell, this circumnavigates email. And I tested it. Well, I forget who, like, I don't know, maybe a family member. And then they got back to me and were like, this is amazing. Like, how'd you do this? And I was like, oh, I just took a video in the iPhone and then sent it to you. So then I start doing it. And then every once in a while I'll speak at events for companies and I'll show them and I'll give them a bunch of different tactics. And then after the first speech that I gave on this, almost everybody who came up to me talked about the video. They're like, oh, same question. Like, how'd you do the video? Like, what did you say? Like, all that stuff. So it's super simple, but that seems like it gained a lot of traction with people.
Yeah, and I think the Ryan Gosling, like, don't worry that you're not going to look like Ryan Gosling, is instructive, because young people today have started leaving voice memos in form of text instead of typing them.
Yep.
And when I first did that, I thought of, how does my voice sound to the other person? Because, when you hear your voice in a voicemail, when you hear your own voice, mm-hmm. Nobody likes the way that it sounds, because it sounds different from the way it sounds in your head.
Yep. Yep. You still there?
We have to dispel that kind of, like, self-consciousness, like you said.
Oh yeah, I would actually argue if it was,
if you can hear me, Wes.
Yep.
Go ahead with that thought, and then I want to know how these rules of engagement apply to a breakup, because we're talking about creating and nourishing a relationship, and then maybe do the same rules apply in a breakup. Well,
so I would say, if you're down for this, let's do a breakup on Monday, because I do think it requires a pretty heavy deep dive.
The full hour. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe even if the guy who went through a breakup, maybe if he wants to join on Monday, or if anybody's been on a breakup, I would love to have some dudes on the cast on Monday. But I would say, if you try to send a video or an audio and it's too scripted, or it's too pretty, it's too perfect, I think it actually starts to work against you. So I think that's very important to know as well. Like, the very thing that you're nervous about, like, oh, how I look or how I sound, is actually part of the value, that you don't look or sound perfect. And somebody can appreciate that. Plus, as dudes,
there's your vulnerability factor.
Exactly.
Right there.
Exactly. Like, could you imagine it, Ray, if I sent you a video and, like, you're like, does he have fucking makeup on? Right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, does he have a filter on it? Like, his fucking phone right now? Like, that'd be weird. It would just be a weird fucking thing to do. Right? If I had, like, those fucking deer eyes or whatever the girls are using, like, that'd be a weird thing to do. It would work against the value. So I would say, yep.
So I met some interesting people for the first time here in New York. Would I use a video greeting with them, or is it someone? Does it have to be certain qualified clients that you already have a rapport with?
Yeah, great question. So so this can backfire. So I think it has backfired with me, and here's the one caveat. So I'll go out and do presentations, right, to a very specific demographic. These people are like in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Some of those people do not know how to use technology. So I have sent videos before, and they don't know the universal symbol for play, which is like the little arrow, like the little triangle that you hit.
Yeah.
So, so then it just looks like they got a picture of me, and particularly like a weird, like, because it's like a weird picture. It's not even me smiling; it's just me looking at them, right?
It's a selfie.
Yeah, and a particularly like shitty selfie.
Yeah,
So
like a neutral, like emotionally neutral selfie.
yeah, exactly. So like in that kind of case, that's probably one of the rare exceptions. But you could even hedge that by saying like, "Hey, send you the video above just to say hi." Now, if it was like a brand new relationship, what I would probably do to like hedge on like, oh, might be a little bit of a weird thing, I would probably put a picture of a book or let's say something in there. Like, hey, and I usually talk about books when I meet with people, especially business people. I would send a little video. I would have that book in hand, or at least a still frame of the book on like Amazon, and start the video there and saying, hey, here's the book that I was telling you about. Thought you'd be interested, and particularly in chapter 9, flip to that chapter and like show them the paragraph. Like something, it's the video. It doesn't have to be your face. So I've done that before for people as well. I've also sent people books. Like there's a whole bunch of things. These things might sound cool, but they're so obvious. It's just like sit down. It's like, okay, if I had to earn points, love points with Ray, how would I do that? What is he like? What is every human like? Cookies is one of the answers to that, right? Like personal touch. It's pretty easy, but it's more about the operational system so that you follow through on it.
Right. And so one of my mentors, who I haven't checked in with in a long time actually, but back when I was like starting out my career after university, I got some great advice for them. They've been previously ambassadors. Like, so this woman, Nancy Brinker, she started the Susan G. Komen Foundation for Breast Cancer Research. She was an ambassador of the United States to Hungary. She was the chief of protocol for the White House, which means every incoming dignitary. She would manage that, like the Pope, prime ministers, Dalai Lama. And so two things she said, like, job interview language and just rules to live by. Like, what are you going to do for this new organization you're interviewing for? And she said, build relationships and grow the business. Two things. Build relationships and grow the business.
Mm-hmm.
Build relationships and grow the business. Like, those are two universal goals no matter what organization you're in.
Exactly. 100%.
And she also said, like, she tries to check in with every single person that's important in her life every single day. So that's a lot of touches.
That is a lot of touches.
That might be more than is practicable for most people, but it doesn't have to be, can I sell you this? Can I sell you this? Can I sell you this? What she does is she will find an article in the paper and link it and just get a link and text it to them, said, I thought of you when I saw this. How that applies to me, it can either be a text or a text link to an article or an artwork. I don't have to try to sell it to somebody, but I can say, I thought of you when I saw this.
Yep.
And it's just a touch. Again, it's just a touch. It just, it reminds them that I'm thinking of them, and it reminds them that I know what their interests are.
Yes. 100%.
Right? And so that is a kind of a, that is an example that just came to my mind of the check-in that doesn't have to be feel businessy or kind of pushy.
100%. Can I give you one other thing?
Please.
I think if you really want to do some ninja tactics, you get the other person to feel that they're at the highest status. One of the ways to do that, I mean, that's essentially what you're doing when you're sending birthday cards. Like, you're saying, hey, you're important.
Yes.
I think one of the best ways now to say you're important is, can I interview you? And dude, if I were in your business, I would be doing that all day long. Like, all of the artists.
Again, it requires you to put your insecurity on ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're worrying they're going to say no. You're worrying you're going to waste their time. You're worrying that you'll look stupid on camera, right? Like, you have to put all those fears on ice. what is the why is this? So why interviewing people? Like, what's so special about that?
Oh, dude. Well, I mean, everybody's competing for status, whether they like to admit it or not, right? Like that's just one, because we're social creatures. So the higher we are in status, the more secure we are in our safety, or in our survival.
Yeah.
So when you say, can I interview, that automatically implies like, can I learn from you because you're a teacher?
Yes. And so that also makes me think of this mentor of mine that I was just mentioning, and how instead of asking someone for a job, you ask them for advice, because she said like old businessmen love to give advice and like tell the people what they should do if they were in their shoes. You know what I mean? And so
100%.
I think that's a different version of can I interview you, because you're asking
Without
them
a doubt
to share their wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they're like,
100%.
hey, this kid thinks I'm wise. I'll give him a couple of minutes.
Yep. Now, the only time you have to, like, the only people who will say no to that are the people who are scared, like, to be on an interview. So you obviously got to use your judgment there. It's like, hey, if you don't like being on camera, no sweat. Can we do audio? Or I'll just write down notes and I'll keep your name anonymous. But like, it can still land with the same impact. Mm-hmm. The only time you would likely get a no is if somebody already is super high status. Right, to whether it's like, oh, if you call the CEO of Goldman Sachs right now, he's going to say no, right? Because he doesn't have time,
and he also carefully manages his brand.
Yes, and right, like he's already getting interview requests every single day. But like, let's be honest, that's usually not the problem for most people. But sometimes people might say like, hey, I asked this guy out for coffee, asked him to mentor me, and he said no. It's like, first of all, that's different than an interview. Like, especially
this is good. This is good. How do you ask someone to mentor you?
Oh, I think the answer to that is not asking. Like, okay. I've had people ask me before, just for instance, and I'm not claiming to be anybody special, but like I can tell you that question is so vague and it's so obligatory forever.
It's like
that it's like exactly. No, seriously. Yeah, seriously. I've in the last 5 months I've gotten asked 2 or 3 times. And it's and I like to think I give them a little bit of coaching. It's like, hey, dude, like, I don't even know what that really means. Like, if you're asking, can I talk with you once a week forever? The answer is probably no. It's actually almost definitely no. But if you have questions for me, here's I think the best way to go about it. Go and ask one piece of advice for somebody who you respect. Let them give you that advice and then fucking do it. And then follow up with them and say how you did it and the results that you got. Mm-hmm. Dude, and then I'd be so willing to bet that dramatically increases your probability of then going back to the well and saying, hey, I did this. What should I do next? And don't over ask and have that guy or woman give you the next piece of advice and keep doing that. Dude, that is what I've noticed. I've done it myself and other people have done it to me. Dude, that, first of all, when somebody does it to me, they actually take the advice and they come back and say, hey, I did this. What should I do now? I'm so eager to do it because now I know that dude's a person of action. And it's cool because it's like they're getting results off of, like, it's an ego stroke for me. It's like, oh shit, my stuff actually works. Yes. That is and that guy, if he did that to me once a week or once a month, right, I'd probably do that for the next 10 years. There's almost zero chance I'd mentor somebody for 10 years just because they asked me to be their mentor.
No, and that's exactly how we've all fallen into the trap of this men's mentorship group we're in right now, right? Is because if someone says, hey, like, I'm lost, can you mentor me? That sounds like a kind of an obligation. But if someone joins you on the path of progress, then it's not an obligation at all, right? It's like riding in a train with someone. You're both going to the same destination.
Without a doubt, 100%. Yeah. Plus, like, can you mentor me? It's too vast. It's too you said. It's like, is it you're asking me to be your dad? Like, I don't know even what that means.
It kind of has to happen organically, or it happens without asking, right? Or like you'll know it when it's happening.
Yes, I would say it's definitely. I would look at it more as like, think of it in your head, in my opinion, as a micro mentor. Like, just ask the next micro step to somebody who you think can solve it, and then obviously don't ask him if he can be your micro mentor, but think of it that way, right? Like, what's the micro thing he can mentor me on? Okay, great. I'm going to actually take the advice and I'm going to use it. Then I'll go back for the next little micro mentor session, next little micro mentor session. And then all of a sudden you'll notice that you have a year's worth of collected data points, and that mentor will say, oh shit, like Ray actually gets his shit done. You know, it's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden he'll invite you out to somewhere, and that's where the relationship will, put it this way. I don't know of any relationship that I have, nor do I know of any relationships that my friends have where their mentors started off from a question of, yeah, I just asked Bill if he would be my mentor forever. And here we are. Like, I literally don't know any relationships that started that way. I'm sure they exist, but I don't know of any.
But it's funny because we say that like mentorship is so important. We're talking about relationships today, right?
Yeah.
How to start them, how to nurture them and nourish them. And it's funny, like, and mentorship is clearly one of the most important relationships for a young person in their career, and for a young man especially. And yet we're struggling to define it, right?
Yes.
Like, or like, it's like, if everything is a practice, mentorship is a practice too, then, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like anything else. Like, literally, so funny enough, I've had 2 people ask me to go out and grab coffee with them recently. And they're 2 men, and they were kind of seeking advice. So what I literally told them is like, hey, I do this men's group, you know, called Rhomas Men's Team every Monday and Friday, right? Like, if you want advice, better not to get it from me, better to get it from the group. And like, I'll be in on there as well. So just show up there, because I also can't be, right? Like, you know, eventually, like, you know, and this should be true for every man. It's, your time is limited.
Yeah.
So it's like and me, like, I'm a robot. Like, I need to I need focus time on this. I need focus time on, if I start muddying the water, like, I'm not as productive. So it's like also just having a standard operating procedure around your time. And then, yeah, if somebody wants to get mentored, it's like, yeah, show up on Monday at 8:15 a.m. and good. If you don't show up, that's fine too. Like,
right. So that's an interesting hack that you figured out, where it's like, you can say, yes, I provide 2 hours of mentorship a week, Mondays and Fridays, on the Rhomas men's team. And so that's a way you can always say yes to them. And if they put in the effort, and if they join you on the path of progress, then they will have access to you for the next 10 years. But there's kind of a gate. There's a kind of like the men's group provides a kind of gatekeeper function to see if they really want it.
Yep, exactly. And also, it's way better because they get input from you, they get input from all the other men. Right. Like, and I tell them that sincerely. It's like, dude, I don't have the fucking answers. Like, I will give you my opinion and what's worked for me. But if you talk to other men, like, the collective answer will work way better for you than any singular answer that I could give you.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah, dude. Cool. Anything else on this topic, brother?
No, I'm just about to go back to the greatest country in the world, Canada.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm waiting in line here. But this was great. We're talking about relationship building, and maybe on Friday we can talk about relationship ending.
On Monday, you mean?
Yeah, it's important, and how it's important to be diplomatic in breakups to preserve your reputation, or even enhance your reputation, even though a particular relationship didn't work out.
Yeah, I would love to get your opinion on this, because just to be very candid, I am horrible at breakups. Like just very, very bad. So if anybody's looking for any good answer, like, take my answer and do the opposite. So that'll be an interesting conversation on Monday. I do have one challenge for the guys. Pick one person that you're thinking of that you could increase your love quotient with, and send them cookies. I mean that sincerely. Like, Kaizen actually just did it. I promise you, it'll feel so good, and you will likely be surprised with the response when somebody receives the cookies. I use Crumble cookies out here on the West Coast. I think they exist in New York too. I could be wrong, but it's like super easy, fast, and efficient boutique cookies. But like, find a local cookie spot around whoever you're sending to, and send them, and let us know the results.
Let's do it.
Cool. Alrighty, Beast. Safe travels. Have a great weekend, dudes.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you, gang.
Later.